Welcome to Standing in the Sunlight with Cynthia Rose. We are all on an ever-unfolding unique journey. Join Cynthia Rose as she begins her unique perspective to all that is meaningful. Topics and personalities that support your path, bringing inspiration and passion and heart-centered ways to live a more fulfilling life. A down-to-earth and uplifting sharing of what it means to be spiritual, creative, and living life to the fullest by standing in the sunlight. Born an intuitive medium, Cynthia Rose is also an ordained minister, singer, astrologer, educator, and writer. She has studied the intuitive and healing arts for over 40 years. Rise up and stand in your sunlight now with Cynthia Rose.
Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are in the world. I'm Cynthia Rose. I'm so glad you're joining me. If you're listening on playback, then welcome. Just a couple of things. You can always post questions in Cynthia Rose Medium Group. You can join Cynthia Rose Medium on Facebook. I'd love to interact with you there. You can find me on YouTube at Cynthia Rose Medium or Instagram. I am very excited today. I am going to be joining us is Frank C. Clifford. Frank Clifford is a consultant astrologer who's from the UK, astrologer and palmist. He lectures internationally. He runs the London School of Astrology and writes for and guest edits the Mountain Astrologer, a very respected work. He has written 12 volumes, including Getting to the Heart of Your Chart, the Solar Arc Handbook, the Midheaven, Spotlight on Success, Palmistry for Today, and recently compiled the Book of Music Horoscopes, which actually raises scholarship funds for the astrology community. She has won awards from the ISAR community in 2016 and was the youngest recipient of the Charles Harvey Award in 2012. It's a Lifetime Achievement Honor for exceptional service to astrology, and recently launched a series of online courses. In 2019, we'll publish a new textbook for students. So if you're interested in studying astrology, Frank comes highly recommended, and I think he's on the line here. Are you still there, Frank?
I am. Thank you, Cynthia. Thanks for the lovely intro as well. Thank you for that.
Well, it's well deserved. I'm so happy. When I saw this book, I was excited. It's just even personally, I love music and astrology, and there's so much we could talk about. But this is a compilation with you and other astrologers. Is that correct?
It is, yes. We put the book together to fundraise, and originally it was a group of essays on every type of astrology and music you can think of, and then I added all the charts because I had a feeling that it'd be nice to be able to put in a good few hundred. I think there are 500, even more than 500 charts in there, so you can learn astrology and read about the people you love, and also and do their charts and learn. We always learn astrology looking at charts and reading biographies. That's how I learned. So I'm always keen on looking at birth charts and discovering new things about people.
And I love, looking at this. One could think, well, what's the signature of a musician in astrology? But looking at the charts, you can see that that's not a simple answer.
That's right. I know. It's a funny thing because I think astrology really doesn't give you that information. I think it really, when you look at your birth chart, and I mean your whole birth chart, as you know, rather than just the sun sign or the star sign, you're really looking at the motivations and the drives of that person. And so many things get in the way of that. Other people have their own birth charts, and we're born into situations that don't let us flower, flourish, grow. And so, the birth chart is a blueprint, as we know, of potential. But whether we get a chance to express that fully, whether our musical talent ever gets an opportunity to blossom, depends on so many other factors. So I look at a chart and think, I don't think the chart will tell me whether this person should be or is a musician, but it will tell me about their drives. And if they have a musical talent, you can then almost say this person will have a particular drive in that area. But that could be them being a lawyer, a teacher, an astrologer, a musician. The chart really gives you the underlying drive and motivation, in my opinion anyway.
Yeah, and that, I mean, I tend to think of it a little esoterically, like these are energies and we create what we create with them. You could have two people with a very similar birth chart, and what they do can be very different, correct?
Absolutely, yes. And you see that with twins, particularly what you find most interesting is that people who have similar birth charts never meet each other, and often the similarities are remarkable. But when there are twins, there's almost a conscious or unconscious need to either stick together and be one or two parts of a whole, and so they'll be very similar. Or one of the twins, without knowing it, will say, I'll be this part of the chart, and the other one says, well, if you're going to be that part, I'll be the furthest away into another part of the chart that I can be in. So you often see the twins in a birth chart, but they're holding court in different corners of the chart.
Oh, I love that, because that's essentially what I've known twins, and I know one set, like a set of twins, and one works as an intuitive, and the other one doesn't, but is also very intuitive and is completely opposite, and yet they're the same. It's fascinating.
It's fascinating. I think astrology teaches you a level of tolerance, first of all, because we all grow up thinking, oh, I'll never date that Cancerian again, or I'll never gravitate towards a moon in Capricorn, or all the silly things that we do at the beginning. And then you realize that the people in front of us, the people we meet, negotiate with, fall in love with, fall out of love with, are all part of the journey, and we're invited to understand more of ourselves every moment we meet somebody else. And so astrology teaches us the Maya Angelou quote that we're more alike than we're unalike. I think so.
I love that. And looking through the book, I definitely can't say I've read it, because this is hours and hours and hours of contemplating charts. So you've got many of my influences growing up as a singer people that I loved in here. You've got so many important people, and I really love also. Can I read something?
Please,
just a little bit. Creativity and diversity, astrology and jazz. Jazz and astrology have a number of things in common. The first is that people don't know much about either, and this does not prevent them from having prejudices about both fields. They think jazz is just annoying, disharmonic, penetrant soprano saxophone tootle, and astrology is kitschy, low-level boulevard entertainment for uncultivated people. Of course, the truth is completely different. Jazz, like astrology, is diversity, inspiration, creativity, tolerance, improvisation, pleasure, and much more. And I could carry on. I loved all. I'm jumping ahead a paragraph. Jazz is a beautiful, democratic music. Encourages musicians with very strong and many times very different points of view to work together as a team, while at the same time giving them the space to express their individuality. It's a very important art form and can be used as a model for different cultures to work together. And that is beautiful. I love that. When I was going to school and studying jazz history, I really felt I was very moved by the fact that people that didn't speak the same languages, that when there was racial problems, there was none in music. Music was that universal language. And I learned so much just about life and tolerance, learning about jazz history.
I can believe that. I think it's, and this is why Alexander, who wrote that essay, Alexander von Schlieffen, he's a painter as well, apart from being an astrologer and a music lover, and a guitar player. But yes, you can always draw parallels between music and astrology. And I don't think I've ever met an astrologer that didn't have music in some way vital to their life or vital to their existence, whether they're professional or whether they surround themselves with music. And you're right, it's like a language, both of them, astrology and music are languages. They both encourage us, as I said, to be more tolerant, to be more aware of the other. And at the same time, the birth chart, and you and I, and I'm sure many of the listeners know that the birth chart is more than just the sun sign. And putting it together is like a huge orchestra. And there are times when a part of you, one planet, maybe your moon sign, what it's doing in your chart, is playing the lead. And really, it's the star of the orchestra for that year or that month. And there are other times when we pay more attention, put the spotlight and the microphone onto another part of the chart. So we have an opportunity to play this amazing orchestra that's our birth chart, play it in all sorts of different ways, and to focus on key areas at any given time, key instruments like Mercury or Venus or our sun sign. So I can see very many parallels between music and astrology. I think they're a perfect fit.
Yeah, it fits to me. I mean, and also I can't find it right now in the book. I didn't mark it, but there was something about Mercury with singers, wasn't there?
That's right. Yes. And in my opinion, the Mercury placement links most strongly to the voice. And astrologers often associate music with Venus because music is Venus is the planet linked to pleasure and harmony and beauty and resonance, all musical things. But when I started looking at the charts of people, looking at studying their voices, studying their technique, really started to recognize that it was their Mercury placement that tended to describe their voice. The moon in the chart says more about how they interpret a song, how they take the words, the melody, and give it a personal touch. But Mercury is very much about how they configure everything. And in many ways, it's the technical voice, the left brain analytical function, really.
Very interesting. I'm just thinking what you're saying there. My Mercury's in the 8th house, and I did an album where the music that was written, and I just went to the place that I do my mediumship from and just meditated and would listen and then write out the lyrics, which is so 8th house, isn't it? That's a very interesting process, absolutely. Considering that your show is the name, the sunlight title in your show as well, it really shows that you're connecting to the 8th house and then bringing it out into the open, into the light. Yes, that's my goal, is that it illuminates not just myself but others and those of us that are holding space for and helping to make a difference in the world, because we can always use more of that.
Absolutely. And I think the 8th house in the chart is that area that needs the courage to shine a light into in order to really connect to its riches. So you need to know the dark before you have any appreciation of the light, in my experience.
Oh, that is so right. Yep, that's so right. You're talking about my past. And I don't mean this to be all about me. I just think it's very, very interesting. Like I say to people, you don't have to believe in astrology. It just works.
That's right, and it's happening around you. And as soon as we know this anyway, as soon as we get attuned to a particular number or a particular color or even a particular make of car, we start to see it everywhere. And it's not only reflecting our awareness of something, it's also the universe saying, you see, now you've opened up to a particular viewpoint or a particular image. You'll see it, and it will become part of your daily life. And that's the same with musical talent, the same with psychological insight, it's the same in any area that we need to be able to perceive it, and then it'll start being creative force in our lives.
Yeah. I wonder, so can I give you a birth date? Because we're going to go to break in a minute. If I can give you a birth date, and then we could compare that and also maybe look at Herbie Hancock, that would be fun.
Why not? Absolutely.
So April 13th, 1966.
Okay. And do we have a time?
9:20 p.m.
Okay. And place?
Vancouver, BC.
Okay. So April 13th, 1966 at 21:20 in Vancouver.
Yes.
Okay. All right. There we go. Okay. I like a challenge.
And that's just, that gives you a couple of minutes to look at that. I know that there's, I'll just say, we'll just call this person David, because I think keeping their name private is good. But we say there are similarities between Herbie Hancock and their lives. It'd be interesting, kind of fun to look at that and just see whatever comes up for fun. Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good to me.
And because I know he's going to cue us, the producer's going to cue us for a little break, and then we'll have 2 or 3 minutes. That gives you so much time to look at the chart, I know. So, and
Great.
of course, now, so let me see. So yeah, April 13th, 6. Oh, there it is. See, I knew it was coming. I'm pretty good about watching for that. So, okay, so we'll be back in just a couple of minutes. Grab a glass of water or stretch your legs. We'll be back with Frank Clifford, and we're going to have some fun with astrology and music horoscopes.
Your conscious lifestyle on steroids. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
OMTimes magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. Connect at omtimes.com. OMTimes, creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Hello, I'm Sandy Sedgbeer, host of OMTimes Magazine's flagship radio show, What is Going On? My passion is sifting through information, research, and innovations from new thought teachers, speakers, and researchers, pushing back the boundaries of what we know about life, energy, metaphysics, and the universe. I love shifting perceptions about who we are, why we're here, and how quickly impossible becomes normal when we open our minds, expand our awareness, and accept that the only limits that exist are those we place upon ourselves. So if you're the kind of forward-thinking, eager investigator of what lies beyond the current reality that most perceive, why not make a date to come play with me in the field of possibilities at 4 p.m. Pacific Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time every Thursday, and together we can discover what's really going on.
Hi, this is recording artist and composer Yuval Ran, inviting you to a voyage through the chakras, a new double album of guided meditations to transform your life, a sublime musical medicine for nourishing inner peace and reaching to your higher virtues. Get it now at metamindfulnessmusic.com, METTA mindfulnessmusic.com.
Some knowledge belongs to us and us alone. The way our girlfriends walk, talk, touch their hair. Details that only a sister can know about her girls. But what about our other girls? The ones we carry with us every day. Our bond with our sister girls gives life. But knowing your breasts can save it. Go to knowyourgirls.org for the facts you need on breast health. Brought to you by Susie G. Coleman and the Ad Council.
Okay, we're back with Frank Clifford, and I'm going to turn it over to you on where we go with this and look at this, and it should be fun.
Okay, that's great. Yes, I'm looking at both charts. I've got both of them open, the mystery chart, and we've got the chart for Herbie Hancock as well. Born a day apart, different years, of course. It's interesting that you've chosen these two because I share a birth date with your mystery person. I'm the April 13th as well, and Herbie Hancock is the 12th. So it feels like a setup.
I didn't know that. That's funny.
Yeah, I'm sure it sounds like a setup to everybody. But what's interesting about their charts is that they're both Sun in Aries. So your sun sign, in my experience, is your goal, it's your journey, it's what you're born to do, what you're born to become. And Aries is a sign, I know from experience, that needs to put their heart and their soul into their work. They're often workaholics. They're people that have strong standards and want to do their very best. I think it's not a sign that's always associated with finishing things off. It's certainly the pioneer and really kick-starting things. It's that type of energy. But it does have a strong perfectionist streak as well. But both these gentlemen have the Sun in Aries, so they need, in some way, a goal. They need a sense of being the master of their destiny, to work and to create something innovative, to run with, to breathe new life into an existing form of some kind, and that will give them a sense of purpose. I always find that Aries is a sign that if they don't have a purpose, if they don't have a goal, if they sit around lazily, depression sets in, or despondency, a sense of apathy. So, if I were looking at these two charts, I'd want to say to them, stay active, never retire, always invest your energy in working towards a goal, having some sort of vision that keeps you going. What do you feel about that, Cynthia?
Oh, I think one of the busiest people I know, always going, always working, inspirational to me that way. So true.
Right. Okay. Great. And it's great because, one of the things that I write about and I lecture on, but I don't see written in many places, is I always say follow your sun sign, your birth sign, follow it. Otherwise you wallow in the very worst of the opposite. So you see a lot of unhappy Aries people wallowing in the worst of Libra, which is the people pleaser, trying to keep everybody else happy, putting everybody else first. And Aries' role is to put themselves first and lead by example. You've got to have the courage to be able to look after yourself before you dare to look after anybody else. So you see a lot of these. If people know their opposite sign, often we languish or we wallow in the worst of it. So Aries will wallow in the worst of Libra, and you'll get that all the way through the zodiac, opposite signs that are 6 months away from you. But both of these men have Mercury, which is the planet of interpretation, of mental agility, in the sign of Pisces. And that allows, in some ways, it allows a versatility and a chameleon-like quality to the nature. So whatever they're doing the Aries thing with and hunting it down and heading in a direct fashion, they've also got an ability to work in all sorts of other influences. So mentally, they're very eclectic. always wanting to pick up lots of different ideas from people, suggestions, etc. Traditional astrology will probably tell you that Mercury in Pisces is a difficult placement or a bad placement. I've always found it on people who are very open to suggestion, very open to nuance, to a sensitive way of interpreting life, and often a sensitive way of dealing with people. Not always. Aries can be a little bit rough and ready at times, but Mercury in Pisces allows for compassion, and it allows for a level of empathy that I don't think you get in other Mercury placements. Does that make any sense to what you know about Mercury, man?
Just spot on. You're spot on. That's just beautiful.
There's another thing, if I may, with the chart for the first gentleman, 13th of April, 66. There's such a tough taskmaster in this person. Really doesn't go easy on themselves. Part of their journey is to take two very different areas of life and combine them. It's like being an astrologer, but also a therapist or a graphologist or a tarot reader, but they're taking two different disciplines, and their lesson in life or their journey is about combining the two. But the chart says that he's very tough on himself. It might be that there's a sibling out there that he's always comparing himself to or was compared to. But this is somebody that's a good editor, but a very critical, self-critical person. So I want to say, I look at this chart and think, oh, just go easy on yourself. Don't be so tough. Don't be such a perfectionist, and don't be so self-critical.
And I don't know about the self-critical, but I know there is a sense of being driven and always striving to be the best. Yes. So, yeah. And it's funny when you said combining the two, because I think that this person, I have witnessed him working with other people, and I swear that he's doing some kind of healing work with people while he's doing music with them, although he would never claim that. I see that. He transforms any project he comes to, he transforms and elevates, always.
Well, in the chart, on the ascendant, this gentleman you've given me the chart for, he has Neptune rising in Scorpio. So the influence of Scorpio is there. It's very driven, very all or nothing. It can be a little bit, Scorpio can be so extreme, they forget to just go easy on things, and Scorpio rising people are so black and white or black or white about things that they can sometimes forget there are many shades of gray. But Neptune on the ascendant says to me that he's a chameleon who, in some way, as you say, the best example of Neptune in life is somebody who helps other people transcend or connect to something more divine. And I think one of the great talents of musicians, and perhaps this person's chart we're looking at, is to really, we're always being dragged down into the gutter. We're always being told to look after the physical and the financial, and in a way this person is reminding us that the most important things in life are the things that you can't quantify, you can't prove, you can't test. Things like faith and love and spirit and connection to something higher than ourselves. So I'm not surprised when you talk about a spiritual element to this person, because there is a level of transcendence, always wanting to take us to something finer and perhaps more refined in some way.
And the nodal access being there gives it makes that stronger, doesn't it?
I think so, and I think the temptation, the nodes are very popular these days, and they're given lots of different interpretations. But this man has his North Node in Taurus in the 7th house, and in many ways, I think the chart is asking him not only to to share that gift, but also to be very real to other people, to be like a rock, to be a support, a guide to people. And sometimes we stay at our south node and we stay in our comfort zone of, in his case, it might be the comfort zone of just creating. But the north node encourages us or challenges us to take up the invitation of being real. The north node is in the sign of Taurus, so it's asking to be there for other people, to be very solid and strong for other people.
Oh, that's true. That's so the chart of this person. They are living their chart. That's just beautiful.
Wonderful, yeah. And I don't know what else to say about it. There's the moon in Aquarius, which can be, again, Aquarius is a sign, when it's at its very best, it's a sign that loves to think of the group, to look after the tribe, to take care of the ideals, and to fight for something for society. Aquarius always, or very often, feels different. It feels separate. And it tries desperately to be, at the beginning, tries to be liked and tries to be part of the group. And then it realizes that its strength lies in its differentness, in its ability to see things from a different perspective. And if you've got your sun in Aquarius or your moon in Aquarius or your ascendant, your rising sign in Aquarius, these are hints to me that you've got to follow your bliss. And that part of that journey is quite lonely because it means being different. It means having to have the courage to say, the emperor's got no clothes on. I stand up and to be different.
That's me, Aquarius rise. That's me.
Okay, right.
Yeah,
absolutely. It's not easy to follow your as an Aquarian, because so many things in life try to make us the same, try to make us conform, try to make it feel like it's going to be better if you join in. And Aquarius's talent is to always step outside and say, this is, it doesn't have to be this way. We can see the world differently and have the courage to do that. And that's part of the talent of Aquarius.
Yes, I can definitely say I've walked that path, and the pain comes when we don't accept that it's okay to be uniquely different in who we are, and that I also think there's a need to, because it can be a lonely path, there has to be, maybe it's my son in the 8th house, there has to be that spiritual connection of feeling connected to everything in the way that it matters for the person in each chart with that. But to me, the Aquarian energy is that often when you see Aquarians that are just about the here and the now and no spiritual elements, sometimes that's the difficulty because they're so aware of how different they are and they're looking for a way to define how they don't fit in, but they're trying to fit into that everyday mundaneness, if I'm making sense. Yeah.
Yes, I agree. And also the shadow side of Aquarius, the moon, the sun, the ascendant, any of the big three, the shadow side, I think, is the worst of Leo, where you meet Aquarians who really, they want to be noticed. They need to be special. They need to stand out. And the ego can spoil the community effort. So with Aquarians, it's always essential to be very aware of the need for some feedback, the need for some attention. Because if you're not aware of that, the ego just crops up and pops in and spoils all the other humanitarian work that they're capable of. So it's always interesting to watch that. Yeah.
Yes, I'm just going, yes, I agree.
Well, the other thing as well is that I think astrology is about being authentic. People think astrology is about trying to be told who you are to fit into a small category of 12 or 144, whatever it may be. But it's actually about following your bliss and being authentic. And I think for Aquarius as a sign, as we're talking about Aquarius, the the need to be authentic intellectually, to like what they like, and not to be afraid of being the only one in the room that has that opinion, or the only one who dares to stand out and have a conflicting or different opinion. So it is, I think, astrology generally, all the signs are on a journey to be more authentic. But for Aquarius, it's very much about the intellectual. It's about the tearing up of the rule book, doing things in a way that feels authentic intellectually.
Yes. And one thing I noticed when looking at this, a lot of times traditional astrology talks about the 10th house of the career, and in looking at the charts, there are a lot, like we said at the beginning, you can't identify, but there's a lot that have planets in the 10th house, and there's a lot that don't.
Absolutely. I'm not a big fan of these classifications. You look at somebody like Madonna's chart, nothing in the 10th, so many people. And one of the first things you read when you're reading astrology books is, the people who have important careers or important people have planets in the 10th house. And it's just not the case. And it really is written, I think, I always say to students, and I always say it when I lecture, that the more charts you read, the more you realize that there's no one simple solution. Every chart, every study, every person will teach you something new that you can add to your understanding of astrology or your arsenal of traits about a particular sign or planet. There's no one formula. And people, like in music as well nowadays, music in England, where I'm calling you from, we had Pop Idol for many years. We have the X Factor. We have Britain's Got Talent, and there'll be a lot of people that question whether that's music based upon their opinion of what music is. And so it's so varied, so different, and music is very different from what it was. It's very difficult to become a musician these days and to succeed and to get good backing unless you enter some sort of cattle call or contest like that. So charts will reflect, as I said, the drives rather than this simple formula that traditional astrology will have us believe. So, I'm a big fan. This is why the book of Music Horoscopes has 500 people to say, look, check them out. They're not always going to have the same formula.
Yeah, and I love that because, even the, there's our little cue. So we're going to go for a little break, and we'll be back for the last 20, and we'll hear about Frank's school. So stretch your legs. We'll be back with Frank Clifford in a couple of minutes.
Free your mind with OMTimes Radio, IOM FM.
Ascending Hearts is no ordinary dating site, but a spiritual dating site with a purpose, to link you with your soulmate. We engineer the serendipity so you can trust that you will attune with someone that has the same matching vibration as you. Ascending Hearts, the conscious dating site for the spiritually aware. Try Ascending Hearts for free, ascendinghearts.com.
Tune in to the Practical Intuitive, Mind, Body, Spirit for the Real World with me, host Robin Fritz, Mondays at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 Eastern. I'll cover personal and business intuition, animal communication, mediumship, space clearing, past life regression, shamanic insights, energy healing, soul choice, and more, all to help you tap your own intuitive and healing skills. No ifs, ands, or buts.
Hi, this is New Age Grammy winner Paul Avgerinos. Thanks for listening to OMTimes Radio, and please support my peaceful healing music with a purchase at iTunes, Amazon, or wherever you shop for fine music. Just put my name into the search engine, Paul Avgerinos. A, V like Victor, G like George, ERINOS. You can also visit me at roundskymusic.com. Thanks for listening, and I'm wishing you the brightest of blessings.
GTG, BRB, OMW, be there in a few. You may think that these kinds of texts are fine because of their length, and you can easily send them at a stoplight. But no, answering one text can take your attention away from the road for 5 seconds. And traveling at 55 miles an hour, that's enough time to travel the length of a football field. Make good decisions, don't text and drive.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org, a message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, Noise, and the Ad Council.
All right, we're back with Frank Clifford. I just had a question about music and the Saturn-Neptune cycle. Could you just talk a little bit about that, or?
A little bit, yes. The outer planets will often reflect the big themes in the world, in politics, in music, in film. And Neptune is one of the planets. It's got a 14-year stay in each of the signs. It's currently in Pisces. And there's an article by Stephen Forrest, who's a well-known evolutionary astrologer, in the book about Neptune's passage through the different signs and how it reflected world music when it moved into Sagittarius, which is the sign of many cross-cultural influences and travel and foreign cultures, etc. So yes, it's you can look at different planetary cycles and notice that there's a big shift in musical genres at that time, and the same you can do that with the planet Uranus as well. Uranus and Jupiter, when they get together, there's often a breakthrough of a different type of music as well. So the planets are fascinating. You can look at it. That area of astrology is called mundane astrology, as you know, Cynthia, and different from natal or birth chart astrology. But mundane is fascinating. You can watch as a planet moves into a new sign. You can see the changing times in music, in film, in theater, in politics, sport, all sorts of things. So yes, Neptune's cycle through the signs often reflects a particular musical genre.
Yeah, I wonder what we'll have next, or what will move when they come together. But I don't know if it's just in my awareness now, but I'm just very aware of that with the Jupiter and Scorpio, everything that's happening as it's going to move into Sag in November. And I think, well, I wonder how that's going to affect, because it's a long time before the square. But I find it fascinating to share with the listeners that these outer planets, it shows we're all connected, that there are these energies or planets, just like the moon moves the ocean, like we're all connected, and that there is a collective consciousness that is shown in the charts if you look at it.
Yes, I agree. I think, and also when Neptune moves through a sign, the people that resonate with that are going to be the people that really define that era. When Neptune was in Aquarius, where it was in from about 1998 to about 2012, we had the fashion, because Neptune is linked to fashion. We had the fashion of reality TV, reality music competitions, everything from The Truman Show, which is the ultimate reality show on film. I think that came in as soon as Neptune moved into Aquarius, it was released. And then we had Big Brother, of course. And musically, we had people making music at home. The whole Aquarius is a sign, as we've mentioned already, Aquarius is a sign that's linked to humanitarianism, but it's also linked to the average man on the street. And what we've had when Neptune moved through Aquarius from 98 to 2012 was a real sense that there's a leveling in the playing field. So we have a sense of people in their bedrooms being able to make music and sell and be on YouTube, another Neptune and Aquarius invention and such. So the people that were ready for that are the people that got swept up in that. Another one we had, of course, during the last Jupiter-Neptune conjunction, which was that 2009, was Susan Boyle in Aquarius, just a very average lady living a very average life, and then just being turned into this remarkable musical sensation worldwide. It was quite astonishing. And that's very Jupiter-Neptune. Jupiter tends to make anything larger, anything it touches much larger. And Neptune is about fads and addictions and things that we adore and big fashions that are global. So probably when Jupiter catches up with Neptune next year, in terms of the square, we should probably have some sort of longing. There'll be an artist or somebody come back into the picture, because Neptune is also linked to nostalgia and a sense of really wanting something from the past. So when Jupiter hits Neptune, I don't know the date offhand, when they get together by square in the chart, there'll probably be some tour. It might be, it could be Carole King, Art Garfunkel, the people that represent that longing that people have for 70s music or music from the past. I imagine it's a singer-songwriter coming back as well, very Sagittarian, very Piscean. So it'll be interesting to watch.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your school and what you do. And I see we have the last 10 minutes here, and you do a lot. Anything you want to share about what you're doing so the listeners can hear more about you?
Thank you. Well, I where do I start? I'm busy, like a good old Aries. I keep my life busy with work and friendships and always working on things. The school I've had now for about 15 years. I took it over, I think, around the age of 30. I'm now 45, and I've been an astrologer since I was 16. So I always joke that I've never had a real job. I've just, I've known always what I wanted to do and loved astrology, and started teaching myself at 16. And about 30, I took over the London School of Astrology, and we offer all sorts of courses in London. We're going online even more this coming winter, and we've launched the school in China. We're launching it in Japan at the moment. And I'm busy visiting all these places and having just feeling incredibly blessed. You know what it's like if you're following your bliss and you love what you do. It never feels like real work. It always feels like a privilege rather than hard graft or a nuisance. And I'm teaching a palmistry course next month online. We're doing that. So I, being a Gemini ascendant, I love astrology and palmistry. I always do two different areas of my life. And so, yes, we're
tell us a little bit about that. I love that you do palmistry, because it's one of those things that I studied that when I was a teen, and have always had a great appreciation for that, because it's it's like it's hard to. There's not a lot of palmists. At least I'm not aware of a lot of palmists. I love that. What drew you to that? And talk a little bit about that.
It's interesting because astrologers tend to get together. They tend to argue about house systems and using which planets and all sorts of nonsense. And I think palmists actually, literally have their head down. They're busy reading palms. They're too busy to be forming groups and alliances and falling out with people. And literally, in England, over the years, in the last 10, 15 years, I've created weekends of palmistry and brought together different palmists to meet each other, to learn from each other, to teach people. So the students get a whole sense of different palmists and their approaches, because palmists literally don't get together unless I invite them to some to some weekend. It's very odd. They're just very individualistic, and they literally just focus on client work and traveling around. And it's one of those subjects you can do on radio as well. I've done it many times over the years, showing people different aspects of their palms and how to read it on the radio, believe it or not. And it's just one of those subjects that it's the living hand. So the astrology, the birth chart, gives you a map of potential, and the hand shows you what that person has done with it so far, because the hand has been growing with them from day one, even before, of course, in the womb. And all the fingerprint patterns, the major lines, are all formed about 4 or 5 months in to pregnancy. So I'm always fascinated with the fact that these hands are a lifelong companion, and they're like mirrors to the soul. They show us the past and what's influenced us and what stayed with us. That stays on the palm. And the palms change, the lines on the palms change gradually and slowly as we make changes in our own lives. So they're constant.
I love that. Yeah.
Fascinating. And, you know, the birth chart doesn't change. We can progress it, we can direct it, but it stays the same. And it could be the birth chart of a moment of time, the launch of a company, a marriage. All those things have birth charts. But the hand is truly your own. Twins will have very different palms. Identical twins will have different markings. And so it really is a unique part of who you are. So I love palmistry. It's so great to teach, great fun. And then people just, you get excited about it, you get addicted to it, and you run around reading everybody's palm and learning as much as you can. I started when I was 17, and it was a year after starting to learn astrology. So together they've been with me for almost 30 years of my life, and I just adore them. They give me such different facets, but together they feel unbeatable. So together I adore them. You must feel the same way, Cynthia.
I do, and I have a great memory, actually. I started around the age of 14 or 15 doing readings, and I didn't know any other palmists. And I said I read tarot, but I don't think I ever read the tarot because I would just close my eyes and talk. So I can't really say that I read the tarot because I wasn't even looking at it. But palm, I would look at the palm, and I was always fascinated with how one hand changes and the things that as you develop. And sometimes I would stare at my palm, and I have a great memory of I think I did an astrology chart for a lady or a reading for her or something, and she said, oh, you love palmistry, I'll put you in touch with someone. I don't know whatever happened to him, but he was a lovely man, and we sat down and he tuned into my palm, and he wasn't obviously only using the palm, because some of what he said was just so fascinating to me. I said, and you're getting that from my palm, you know? And just his reading alone taught me the depth of palmistry. And I thought I was doing, wow, I'm doing this with the palm, but he just took it to a whole other level. So it touched my heart in such a deep way. I have such a respect for some of the ancient esoteric traditions and what they can offer us. I think I love it when people honor that.
And in the right hands, forgive the pun, but in the right hands, it can be a very liberating experience to have your hand read or your chart read in the right hands. And I think, as I'm sure you feel strongly about this too, being Aquarius rising, but it's so important to encourage people to follow themselves. The chart, their palms are windows into their purpose, into their mission. But, in a positive way, we've all got to be encouraged to jump on board on that journey. And I think when it's done well, a good palm reading or a good chart reading truly helps you connect with what you're here to do. And that's probably what we're here to do as astrologers and palmists, is to help people recognize that.
Yes, I absolutely agree. And I work primarily as a medium, but I tell people, like, you should never feel like anyone has the power. A reading should empower you. You should never give your power away in a reading. It's about you being seen so that you can see yourself, you know? So it should never be, I take issue with anything that might be fear-based, let's say.
Oh, yes. And anybody talking about illness or death or anything that's scary, you need to get out of there, because that's not what these subjects are for. No. They're there to live, not to be fearful of living.
Yeah.
And
I can see we're going to go soon. It's such a pleasure to have you on the show. It went so quick. Thank you so much for being on the show. Frank Clifford, can you say your website before we go off, please?
Oh, thank you. Yes, it's frankclifford.co.uk. Thanks for having me, and hi to everybody out there.
Yes. Thanks so much.